True, but not what I'm looking for.
I'm trying to say that I'm happy that you chose me for this trial.
Look, now you're just making stuff up.
Do you mind? Do you mind? I'm trying to pray here.
Yeah, trying, and not really doing a very good job of it. Look, you're just jumping to the end and skipping all the really good parts.
Listen, will you lay off? I've had a bad day. I mean, give me a break.
Okay, see, now we're getting somewhere. Keep going with that.
Well, fine. I'm angry. I'm angry at you, God. I'm angry at Gary, my boss, or used to be my boss. I mean, aren't you supposed to be looking out for me? And isn't Gary supposed to be a Christian? He knows I have a family to feed. And on top of that, I come home today and the dog has thrown up on the carpet. We just replaced that carpet and now the house smells like dog vomit. And then Trish comes home and tells me how much money she saved today when she stopped by Kohl's. And I said, just think of the money we would have saved if you'd have driven by Kohl's. Now, then we get in an argument about it. I'm trying to pray about it. You won't cut me any slack about it. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Huh, God? I mean, what do you want from me?
Now that is a prayer.
Hey everyone, good evening, good evening, good evening. This is LaLa. That was an interesting clip just now. It kind of talks about a lot of what we'll be going into this evening, you know, being angry with God, having conversations with God, having...
Oh no, the dogs.
I'm sorry, we have dogs that are in the studio. So being angry with God, having conversations, the type of conversations we have with God. Is it okay to be angry with God when life happens? What causes us to be angry? I mean, all those things we're going to talk about this evening. But before we get into that, again, this is LaLa, co-host BBC Unplugged. We have, of course, our host, Pastor Paul Graham, here with us. I'll switch it over to him so he can open with prayer and so that we can start our discussion.
Hey, let's begin with prayer. So whatever you do, wherever you are, we're going to ask you to share this with someone because it's such an interesting topic tonight. And let's bow our heads together as we invite God's Spirit, not only with us here, but where you are. So, Holy Father, we come before you thanking you for being an awesome God to us, a God that can do all things. And so today we are asking you to stop by, not only here with us, but also with our viewers. And so we're asking for a double portion of your Holy Spirit because we're talking about you tonight. We're talking about being angry with you. So we're going to need your Holy Spirit to help us out tonight. So now we're asking that you'll be with us and bless us, and that it will edify someone. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And so here we are talking about this subject of being angry with God. Wow, can you actually be angry with God? Have you ever been angry with God, LaLa?
Yeah, I think as life happens, I think you have certain expectations in life, and I think it's natural. You know, I think when we read the Bible and we talk about, we see what God has done in the past, I think we automatically have an expectation that that same thing will be done, not can be done, but will be done for us. And when those things don't happen, you get a little angry, you get a little frustrated. And a lot of times I've heard people say that, you know, being angry with God is like a huge no-no. You know, it's taboo. You should never do it. But, you know, I think the purpose of tonight's show is to really get a good look as to what anger is, where it comes from, what God expects of us, and maybe help us along our Christian journey a little better as we experience life and maybe disappointed by what happens.
So then I wonder, are we allowed to be angry with God? Do we have the right to be angry with God? And I'm hearing you say that, well, you know, it is something that can be expected in life. So are we going to really get into, should we be angry with God? Can we be angry with God? So I may ask, and you can plead the fifth if you'd like. Okay? Can you give me something, at least one thing in your life that you were angry with God about?
Well, I know, okay, so one thing I can talk about, when I was in high school, I lost my grandmother.
Okay.
You know, that was like the first real death in my life.
Okay.
And she was such a huge part of my life. I mean, it just didn't seem fair. It didn't seem fair at all. And so as a teenager, I was in 11th grade, you know. As a teenager, I remember saying, but why though? You know, why did she have to go like this? And why did she have to go so soon? You know, why couldn't I be like an adult with my children and have her there, you know, with them? So that was one instance in my life. I have several others where things just don't make sense as to why they happened. But I mean, but that's one, you know, why did you have to take my grandmother? You know?
I got you. And death is such one of those topics that get in the way and we start asking ourselves the question like, right, why did God do that? You know,
Right.
and a lot of times we don't even blame the devil on this one. We blame God because we feel like he's so all-powerful that he
You should be
needs
able to stop it.
Right, he needs to tend to our stuff.
You should be able to stop it.
Okay.
But you know what else came up
Lots
as
of
I
guys talk
was doing a whole lot of reading about this. One thing that was paramount or prevalent in what I was reading
That's
is
a
that
new word. I'm gonna write that down.
which one? Paramount
Paramount
or
or
prevalent? Okay, 2 new words then. So, but one thing that that came to my mind was, in order for someone to be angry with God, or in order for someone to be angry with someone, you have to have a relationship with them.
I like that. Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, you have to have a certain expectation of that person.
Okay, I like that. But what if being angry with that person can cause you to lose that relationship with them?
It's what you do with the anger.
Here we go.
I think we need to really separate the two.
Okay.
One is you are angry. You know, I read that, as humans, it's human nature, things happen. We're disappointed, and you are and you're angry.
Okay.
It's okay to be angry. Angry is an emotion that God has given us.
Okay.
As humans that we express, but what you do with that anger afterwards. What you do with that anger afterwards.
Or how do you handle
it?
Because the truth of the matter is, some of the things that we never discuss in church or never get deep enough in the Word of God is the fact that if we're angry, well, being angry is an emotion given to us.
Right.
And I don't think it necessarily has to do with sin. That because you're angry that you sin. Right. I don't want to get into that, theologically. I want to get into that theologically.
And if you notice too in the video that we played at the beginning, the guy that was praying to God, the person that was, representing God on the stage, he was coming to him all surface.
Right.
And he was coming to God all surface.
Regular.
And God was like, nah, that's not it. That's not what you're feeling. I know that's not what you're feeling. Try again. Good. And it wasn't until he got really frustrated and he just came down to the raw emotion of, listen, I'm frustrated about this, that, this, and the other. God was like, yes, that is how I want you to come at me.
That's what I'm looking for when it comes to prayer and with your issues.
Exactly. Don't come to me all fluffy and, be like, you up here, but you really not touching the stuff.
Okay.
That, come to me how I created you. I know you have this in you.
Right.
And I want to see it when you relate to me. That's what a relationship is.
Hey, you sound a little scary right now, because you're also saying that not only are we created in His image, but we're created with that mindset to be angry.
Right. Yes.
To be angry.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna put this out there. It's not biblical. It's not spirit of prophecy. It's not all that stuff. But the truth of the matter is that, could Adam have been angry with his wife for that particular sin without falling into temptation? Are you with me so far? Because even in a perfect world, could someone be angry? In a perfect society, could someone be angry? This is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to call us. Maybe you have an experience of when you were angry with God. And it's okay to share that experience if you were angry with God. So we're going to ask you to call in. We'd like to hear of your experience, and maybe we can help or someone else can help. And also join us in our chat room. So I'm going to ask now, LaLa, if you just give us some information on
the call-in.
Or call-in.
Yeah, the call-in number is 347-989-8128. Again, that number is 347-989-8128. If you are just calling in to listen, you can do that. Just call in, listen, don't press anything. If you want to speak with us, press 1. And we'll get an indicator here in the studio that you are on and would like to speak live. So I encourage you guys to please call in 347-989-8128. We have that number there for you, so you can call in, share. Talk about the instances when you have been angry with God and how you got over it, or if you're not over it yet, and maybe we can talk that through. We don't claim to have all the answers, but we want to help you talk it through.
Definitely.
So 347-989-8128 is our number. 1 if you want to speak. Press 1.
If you want to speak.
If you want to speak.
So let's look at this particular text. In Ephesians chapter 4:26, all right? LaLa, I'm going to ask you, put it out there in the chat room.
Okay.
Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26, okay? We want to really get deep into that, simply because we get a lot of calls from individuals or emails from individuals who go through a lot of relationship issues or other issues when they are angry with God. They're asking God questions. And just because you may not feel like you're angry, you are asking God some questions. Maybe there's a doubt, or you want to know, what are your movements like, God? What are you thinking about?
Right.
And so, because I could remember when I was 24, one of my favorite uncles died. One of my favorite uncles died, and he died of AIDS. And that was somebody else's problem. That wasn't our problem. That wasn't a big problem for us as Christians, so to speak, at that point in time. And when my uncle passed, I asked God the question. I mean, you couldn't save him? You know, what was that about? And there are other things, even in a relationship that I was in college. You start asking God, yo, if I acted this way, if I was this way all along, why in the world did you allow that to happen? Though, I don't think I was mad at God, but angry and mad, maybe even different emotions also. We'll look at that also. But in light of that, I'm going to ask that maybe you can call in and we can hear from you. We would love to hear from you because we want to talk a little bit about that. So Ephesians 4, what is it? Ephesians 4, verse 26. Verse 26. That verse tells us that we can be angry, or let's say it, verse 26, be angry and sin not, or let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Be angry and sin not. Are there any places in the Word of God that shows an individual who was angry but did not sin?
I would say that one just popped in my mind.
Okay.
So when Lazarus died. Okay.
Remember now, I'm the pulpit person.
You're the pulpit. I'm just bringing this in because the pew does read a little bit of the Bible.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Okay. So when Lazarus died, Mary and Martha, of course, they were distraught.
Okay.
And I think it was Martha that told Jesus, he's dead. Where were you? If you were here.
Oh. Okay.
If you were here, he would not have died.
Okay.
Right? That's an angry question. I'm mad because you weren't here.
Okay.
Not only were you not here, but you said he will not die. You said that from before.
Okay, good.
Right?
Good,
you said that.
So,
so you said that.
Go on, Pew.
You have set the expectation that he would not die.
Mm-hmm.
But my brother is dead. And where were you?
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
So then Martha was angry.
She was angry.
Okay, Martha was angry, disappointed, angry, questioned, doubted.
Right.
And which are emotions that we can have without sinning.
Without sinning.
Okay, without sinning. All right. Here is the situation. We're looking at the chat room right now. Someone is actually speaking on the subject of someone named Single. Is that it? Is that
yes? Single. I even tried to live like my.
Okay. They went through a certain situation. Maybe they can call in. Maybe they can talk with us. Let us know what their mindset is. But what was that situation there? I
can't tell. It's going too fast.
It's going too fast.
The chat room is going too fast.
Okay.
I'll read it as it is there.
Okay.
So I used to hate that friends that studied on the Sabbath and did better than me, or friends that lived carelessly, promiscuously, and over the edge, yet they scored better than me and I observed the Sabbath. I always was a good girl, yet always had bad things happening to me.
Okay. So someone is questioning God on the level of, or angry at the level of, they're always doing what's right.
Right.
And it seems like the ones who are not doing right is coming out on top. And I'm not. God, what's that about?
What's up with that? Exactly.
What's up with that?
And that's a real emotion.
It is a real emotion.
And that's fair to express.
It is fair to express. But I need Single to realize that that's not a sin.
Right.
It is not a sin to say what's going on. You know, and there are individuals in the Bible who have questioned that before. Like, or what did David say one time? Lord, don't let my enemies triumph. It looks like they're winning.
Right.
Don't let my enemies triumph over me. If I'm praising you, what's next on the table for me? So, Single, I want you to know that that emotion that you're feeling is not only a ripe emotion, but you are allowed to have that emotion. Again, what LaLa said earlier is, what do you do with that kind of emotion?
Right.
What do you do with that kind of emotion?
I think it's always a good thing, and I don't know if anyone has called in. Yeah, we have someone on the line that wants to speak.
Okay.
But before we go to that person, I think it's a good thing to get angry and to just be very real about what you're feeling.
Sure.
So don't be like as if though you are you're not supposed to feel that way. So because of that, you don't deal with it.
You should be dealing with it.
You should be dealing with it and get into the raw emotion.
Definitely.
Of what's going on, you know?
All right, but let's look back at that situation before, the video that was shown before.
Yeah.
God doesn't want to hear your shim-sham prayer.
Right. He doesn't want the fluff stuff.
He doesn't want the fluff stuff.
Right.
So if you're going through something and you're dealing with him, just like how Abraham dealt with God, though he wasn't angry, he started questioning him like, okay, you're about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But I got a nephew down there. I got family down there. Are you telling me that you're the kind of God that would do something like that?
Right.
Come on now.
Right.
Hey, we have a caller coming in.
We sure
Mandy,
do.
let's bring that caller in.
We sure do. Area code 573. You are live with Unplugged. Welcome to Unplugged.
Yes, hello.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, hey.
You are on the air with Unplugged. Good evening.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
It's Jason Paul. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jay. Good to have you back in our area.
Hey, man, it's good to be back among civilization. Say that.
Oh, wow.
Where were you before? Real quickly.
I was out in Missouri for the past 6 years.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. You in Missouri?
Yeah, it was pronounced misery.
Hey, talk to us a little bit about this subject.
Well, I think the first question that you guys had was about, is it possible for individuals to be mad and not sin? And clearly we have the example of Jesus clearing the temple, so there we can see the emotion of anger being funneled into a positive endeavor there. And in fact, if you really want to get deep about it, in fact, Jesus was not just angry, Jesus was also deliberate with his anger.
Okay.
In fact, the Bible says that he actually was mad, then he went and fashioned a cord.
Yes.
So he was there taking time, making sure that he knew that he wanted to have this particular cord and whip to go back through the temple.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't even like it was just a flash of anger.
Right.
It was anger that actually was meted out with purpose.
Mm.
So yeah, it is possible. It is possible for individuals to have anger and to actually to be in that mode of anger for some time and still not, break a commandment there. So that's just one little part of it. That's just one thing that you guys may want to kind of try and break down and analyze and do what you will with that.
Hey, Jason, when I look at Matthew 21, 12, one of the things that Jesus was angry about was, first of all, he had a right to be angry. That's one of the things that we've got to realize. He had a right to be angry. Not only did he have a right to be angry, but, he did something about his anger.
Right.
He didn't just walk away and just, just walk away and just allow that thing to simmer. He did something about it. And what do you do with that kind of anger? Now Jesus thought this thing through, like you said. He made a little whip. He made a little whip, and he did something about his anger. How do you turn over tables, man? How do you turn over tables and throw that whip around and still not be angry? What's your mindset on that?
It all comes down to the purpose and the intent. We look at anger as if through our own human emotional eyes. And we believe that the emotions that we have are the same emotions that God may have had when he is meting out his judgment. And that cannot be allowed to come into your recollection or your psyche. The emotions and the drive that we have while we are angry is not the same thing. It is of a different quality. It is of a different texture when God is, loosing his wrath. So you can't compare the two. Okay. And I mean, to be honest with you, the only time God ever responded to a human being concerning the big question, talking about through your prophet, I'm not talking about a people, I'm not talking about David, I'm not talking about anybody like that. It's only when he spoke to Job.
Right.
That's it.
We're going to get into that. Into that. Unless you want to drive down here and come into the studio, we're going to get into that. All right, go ahead.
And I'm just saying, the only time where there was a direct answer to a question about what the heck is going on in my life and why is this junk going down in my life, and the answer was, why are you asking me?
Wow, that was the answer. That was the answer.
That was the answer.
Sure.
And not only was it why are you asking me, but it was you don't even have the right, you don't even have the brain cells, the capacity to ask this question of me. You cannot fathom the reason why. You have no ground to stand on.
You have no ability
to ask me a question about that.
It's almost to say you're not even on my level to ask a question.
You are not even on my level. I can't even tell you, because in telling you it would split your brain apart.
you know, it's funny when you say that, because we're looking in the chat room right now and we find that Merlina is basically saying, no, I'm sorry, it was Desiree, right? Desiree Higgins?
I think so.
Who basically said that God knows the end, or he knows what's going to happen afterwards, or there's good that's going to come out of your situation, because he's not just going to allow you to go through something like that without him coming out on top, or your situation coming out on top. It's while you're going through, where, you know, that you're going to go through this nonsense, or it doesn't make sense to us because we expect to live our lives this way, and we expect God to do this for us. And when he doesn't, then all of a sudden God is on the hot seat. And it's kind of tough. It is kind of tough. Hey, Jason, we have some more callers calling in.
We do.
But you know, just stick around, because I'm sure that even in the chat room, you would have a lot to say. And we're waiting for our California pastor to come on.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him for the day, so I don't know if he is coming on tonight. But I could text him and see where he is. But I think we do have a call in the chat room. It's a 205, I think.
Okay, hey, Jason, thank you for calling in, man. Thank you for calling in. We love your mindset.
No,
you got it. I'll see you at I'll see you at Racquetball tonight.
Oh yeah, very good. Very good.
All right, good. Lit it out.
All right, we have a 205 area code. You are currently live with Unplugged. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm not going to dispute God's response to Job, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with the previous caller's evaluation of God's response. As my concern is that I don't want that to be interpreted as we should not ask.
Okay.
Because I don't see anything wrong with asking God why. Now, for God to respond to Job the way he did, that's God's business. But I don't see a problem with asking God, why is this happening to me?
Okay.
I think all of us ask those questions.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think to be really honest with ourselves, we've definitely wondered it. And, my struggle is that I find it easier to turn anger on myself or anger towards, the church in general than I do to let myself really express the anger towards God. And part of it, like Paul said, both of us were brought up in the same type of subculture where, what are you kidding me? We can't be mad at God. He's God. He's sovereign. He could wipe us off the face of the earth.
Right.
And granted, he can do that. At the same time, if you have all of these emotions, who else are you going to share it with that can handle them?
Exactly.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
And I tell you, my husband and I, we are the parents of a beautiful child with special needs.
Okay.
He has autism. And I'm telling you, it's not only that, there's been challenges with financial difficulties and so forth. And there's been times where I've been wondering, okay, what am I supposed to do? I did what I was supposed to do, and this still happened. And so I think a lot of times we struggle with that because, first of all, depending on how we were brought up, we're afraid that, we'll be zapped. And then number two, for me, if I'm going to express anger towards anyone, I want some results. In other words, if I'm going to express anger towards God or anger towards anyone, like saying, this thing really upsets me, I would like to see something change.
Okay.
And I think maybe I'm concerned that I'm not going to see anything change by expressing how I feel. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No. You're right, because when we looked at the video in the beginning, God was waiting.
Yes, he was wanting that
to express how he felt.
Yes,
he was waiting for him to express how he felt, and And though I do understand where the last caller was coming from, the last caller only told the first part of the answer. And the first part of the answer truly was, now where were you when I created the foundation of the earth? You understand where I'm coming from? So in other words, it's not only him saying how dare you or what level are you to ask of this, but remember what LaLa said earlier. You can be angry with someone who you have a relationship with, and we recognize that Job had a relationship with God.
Right.
So God is basically saying, in my relationship that I have with you, you have the right to doubt me, but don't you know I got something special for you?
Right.
So here it is that you're saying, hey, Lord, I've done everything right. I mean, come on, sis. We grew up together. We went to school together. And in light of this, I know you lived the right life. You've picked the husband that God has asked you to be with. You have this child, and then when you have a child with special needs, you look back and say, now, haven't I served you? You know?
Well, not even so much that. I was just thinking, what did this child do? This beautiful, precious child that we love, he certainly didn't do anything to deserve it. I mean, I know a lot of times I have been in the prayer room and I have wept in the presence of God and be like, Lord, I'd give anything just for him not to have this disorder.
Right.
I really would. I would give literally anything for him not to have this disorder. If it was a trade-off of take my life and improve his, I'd do it.
Wow.
That's where I'm at.
Can I ask
and so I struggle with that in a lot of things. And, I went through a period, particularly in 2012, where I questioned a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
And I think it's very sad when we feel that, I know LaLa was just asking me in the chat about the ultimate in trust. I think questioning is the ultimate in trust because we can trust the person who we're asking. We can trust God.
Right.
Even if we don't understand, I can trust him to understand me when I am asking questions. Because I'm not disrespecting him. I do love him.
Right.
I do want to trust him. But I have challenges. And I trust him enough to ask the questions.
Wow.
Now, what he chooses to answer, I will pray for the spirit of submission to what he answers.
Right.
But, I certainly don't think there's anything wrong with questioning. I don't see the questioning God as a lack of faith.
Absolutely.
It's not the same as what happened in the wilderness where the children of Israel were murmuring and complaining.
Right.
I think that we all have those questions. I mean, I'm sure we all ask why, and to say that we should never ask why is to deny our humanity.
Which God put in us
Absolutely.
for our survival.
Absolutely.
God has put that very emotion in us. I mean, for our survival. The Bible talks about the Bible talks about the wrath of God. The Bible talks about again in Matthew 21 where Jesus gets angry. We look at Ephesians again where God says through Paul, be angry yet sin not. But then we also recognize that in the second part of that text, it also tells us that we ought not let the sun go down in our wrath, which really means for us is that you can't be angry all the time. Which means that if you're angry with God, you need to firm that thing up. And how do you firm that thing up?
But you know what, too? The thought just came to me. God simply asked Job questions. But God never said in that Bible that he was angry with Job for asking the question.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
He did tell Job's friends, I'm angry with you.
Right.
Because you have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has.
Exactly.
So let's remember that. God just simply asked Job questions to make him think about, where he was at.
Yes.
But God never said he was angry with Job for asking the question.
That's
Exactly.
true.
God never said that he was angry with David for his imprecatory psalms.
That's true. That is
So,
true.
but God did tell Job's friends, I'm mad at y'all because y'all didn't say the right thing about me.
That's right. You're absolutely right. In
right.
fact, he also says in the word, test him. Test him. If there was a situation that seems as if I'm not there with you, test me. Ask me the questions. I am going to answer you. One of the things that our church doesn't teach about a lot, and when I mean our church, I'm not talking about our Seventh-day Adventist faith. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the church in general. Is that we teach a trust factor, but we don't teach the testing factor. We don't teach that at all. which says, if you have a situation, test me.
And not only that, we teach a trust factor, but we don't talk about what it takes to get to trust.
Woo.
We don't talk about what it takes to get there.
I want to give you a high five.
But for real, I mean, okay. So the expectation is that because God is God, and yes, God is God, and we worship Him because He is God.
Yes.
That we automatically, blindly, and say, you know what, boom, that's it, good. You know, but we weren't made like that. We weren't made like that, and it isn't in your question that you prove Him wrong. No. It is in your question that you prove Him right. And that you're able to have that testimony to that. So the whole, how do you get there? That whole questioning, I think that's a part of the whole relationship that God keeps saying that He wants to have with us. But people are afraid to ask questions because you think that you're disrespecting Him.
Or you know, when you look in the chat room, it's also saying that maybe God is bringing us to that place, right? Maybe He's bringing us to that place so that He can have a relationship with us. Maybe He needs for us to go through a testing time so that we will develop that relationship with Him.
Right.
Not the fact that we look back and say, but Lord, I've been this and I've been that and I've been the other. Because we know that in the Word, it also tells us that those who would not be saved are the ones that's going to say, hey, I did this, Lord, I did that, and I did the other, how come?
It's not about that.
And He's going to say, but you didn't know me.
Right.
And part of knowing someone is having that dialogue about the stuff that we're going through. And it doesn't have to be completely traumatic. It doesn't have to be traumatic. Just like what someone said in the chat room before. Hey, I wasn't running around. I would study on other days other than the Sabbath. And my friends who are doing other things, people may not see that as traumatic, but they're building a case with God. They're building a case with God. And as they're building a case with God, they're saying, God, this doesn't add up here.
Right.
Do you have the right to be angry? Sure, you can say, God, what's going on here? Right. But then we've also, I don't want to talk about it yet, but we also got to somehow rectify that with God. Right. Not with man.
Right.
We got to rectify that with God.
Right. And you rectify that with God by having a conversation with Him about it. So you go through your real emotion surrounding your questions. Yeah. You go through your real feelings. You know, God, I'm not feeling this right now. I'm frustrated because I thought I was doing this. And let Him answer you and say, it's not about what you were doing. It's about knowing me. Let Him answer you and say that. So then you can have that conversation back and forth.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, listen. 205. Listen, I'm glad about the call. Thank you for, and I'm not going to say it was a total disagreement. I'm not going to say it was a total disagreement. What I thought you did to the last caller, which is add on to simply said, when God answers, right, He answers a true question. And when He questions, you then have to do something with the answer that He's expecting from us, which comes out of a relationship with Christ. Hey, caller, thank you for calling in. And we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
All right, go. We'll talk soon.
So can you imagine? So can you imagine? Okay, the existence of not ever being angry with God. You know, I'm sure there are people out there that have never been angry or have never questioned. Okay. You know, not saying that was their initial response. They may have stopped themselves from questioning, from asking or being frustrated. Right. You know, but what does that say? If I am in a relationship like with my husband and I never get angry at he does everything perfectly and and I never get angry, and that would suggest that something ain't right. That would suggest something isn't right.
It suggests to me that in the relationship, remember that's what we're getting back at, in the relationship that the both of you have, you both were chosen to be with each other to deal with all of the emotions that God has given. Right. If you're just dealing with happy, 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 singing that song happy all day long, there's got to be a problem with that.
It's not real.
It's not a real relationship.
It's not real.
There's no building blocks in it. There's no breaking down. There's no coming together. There's no cohesiveness in that sense, because everything is just one way. Right. And I remember before I got married, somebody came to me and they said to me, I expressed to them that I was upset with my fiance at the time, and they came to me and they said to me, you shouldn't get married to her because it's somebody who makes you angry.
It's crazy.
You shouldn't marry that person. Are you serious?
That's crazy though.
I mean, are you serious? I thank God it wasn't my counselor.
You're gonna be real mad when you get married if you expect that they're not gonna make you angry, and the first time you make you angry, you think it's a mistake. You're gonna be mad.
Let me tell you right now.
At yourself.
Absolutely. And you're gonna be mad with everybody else, because the truth of the matter is, you can't be in a relationship without all the emotions working
Absolutely.
together. And
Absolutely.
so when we look at this, can you be angry with God, or are you angry with God? And if you are angry with God, have you had the dialogue? You know, before we go into other callers, before we ask for other callers, and I know we're going to play this again at the end, but I know that there's some callers or people who are online who are not able to see that video in the beginning. LaLa,
Right.
could you introduce that video? Can we show it one more time?
Yeah.
And let's go back into our dialogue again.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. We're gonna show a video. We showed a video at the beginning of the hour where you have someone who is going through something, trying to talk to God about it.
Okay.
And look at every aspect of the video. God's responses, how he's initially praying to God, and then what it eventually breaks down into. So that's me setting it up.
Okay,
for,
and remember now, we're going to play it one more time at the end.
Yeah, we're going to play it again at the end.
All right, let's go.
Go ahead.
Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go.
Okay, God, let's go. Oh, precious Heavenly Father, I thank you for your many blessings. You know all things. You know that I lost my job, but I know that you will take care of me even through these tough times.
Nah.
Lord, I know that you are holy, and whatever happens, you will see me through it.
Try again.
Lord, help me to see the multitude of blessings and the rich lessons in life that you have in store for me and my family in this most difficult season.
That sounded pretty, but I'm still not feeling it.
God, I know that you said that all things happen for a reason.
I never said that.
What I meant is that you'll work in this for the good.
True, but not what I'm looking for.
I'm trying to say that I'm happy that you chose me for this trial.
Look, now you're just making stuff up.
Do you mind? Do you mind? I'm trying to pray here.
Yeah, trying, and not really doing a very good job of it. Look, you're just jumping to the end and skipping all the really good parts.
Listen, will you lay off? I've had a bad day. I mean, give me a break.
Okay, see, now we're getting somewhere. Keep going with that.
Well, fine. I'm angry. I'm angry at you, God. I'm angry at Gary, my boss, or used to be my boss. I mean, aren't you supposed to be looking out for me? And isn't Gary supposed to be a Christian? He knows I have a family to feed. And on top of that, I come home today and the dog has thrown up on the carpet. We just replaced that carpet, and now the house smells like dog vomit. And then Trish comes home and tells me how much money she saved today when she stopped by Kohl's. And I said, just think of the money we would have saved if you'd have driven by Kohl's. Now, then we get in an argument about it. I'm trying to pray about it. You won't cut me any slack about it. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Huh, God? I mean, what do you want from me?
Now that is a prayer.
I like that statement when God says, now that's a prayer.
Right.
Now that's a prayer.
Right.
You know, let's just, we're looking for more callers to call in. Could you just give them a call, the number again?
Yeah, the number is 347-989-8128. If you want to talk with us, press 1, and we'll put you live on the air. If you just want to listen, you can call that number. Don't press anything. But if you want to speak with us, press 1, and you will be live with us on the air. I was looking in the chat room, and there's a lot of discussion going on about questioning God as it relates to trusting. Mm-hmm. So it's like as if though if you question, you lack trust. If you question, you lack faith.
Okay.
You know?
Wow.
And that's what's going on in the chat room, you know? And someone said, like we said, trust is not a buzzword, it's a process.
Wow.
You know, you go through things in a relationship where you test and question, mm-hmm. and then trust is formed. You know? So there are a lot of people in the chat room that's talking. I wish you guys, if you're able to, because I think one of the individuals is actually at work, and they said they can't call in right now, so they're participating via chat. But call in, and let's talk about that, because for me personally, I don't see where questioning is any indicator as to my level of trust.
Okay.
I see questioning as me gaining some level of footing to be able to trust. That's kind of where I'm at with the whole trust factor.
I like what Marcina Cook says, that so maybe God is waiting for us to lay before Him, before Him, including our anger.
Right.
So we lay before Him our praise, right? We lay before Him something we want. We lay before Him everything. We lay before Him is like we can approach Him with that, but we can't approach Him with anger.
Right.
We're supposed to be able to approach Him with anger, just the way He approaches us with disappointment. In a sense, where he approaches us with disappointment. Again, give us a call at 347-989-8128. That's
989-8128. We have a caller that is in from a 410 number. You are, did you press? Yeah, you press the button.
Press the button.
Yeah, you are currently live with BBC Unplugged. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
This is Kwani.
What's up, Kwani Kwan? I know that voice.
Hey, y'all.
Good.
I have a little experience with this particular topic.
Right
mainly because my mother passed away about 12 years ago.
Okay.
So in that whole experience, I went through the gamut of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, I was hurt because I felt like, how could God allow her to pass away when she was ill for no reason of her own?
Mm.
So my mother passed away from an illness called sarcoidosis.
Okay.
And it was a pulmonary sarcoidosis. And, all her life she grew up around foolishness, crazy people, crazy environment. And her stepfather actually smoked his entire life. And mind you, up until about a year and a half ago, he was still kicking.
Oh, wow.
But my mother passed away at 44, and she suffered. She suffered difficult relationship with my father. She suffered physically and emotionally. And when she passed away, I asked God why.
Right.
Because everything my mother did was for other people. She always put other people ahead of herself. She took care of other people. She took care of her family. She took care of the church. I mean, these are things that you assume are good things, the good Christian things to do. And yet, somehow, I felt like it didn't work out in her favor.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I've been raised in the church. I prayed, we prayed and prayed and prayed that God would heal her. I mean, my mother even trusted me enough to ask me to anoint her. Now, that's real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, God, I don't understand. Why didn't this work out? And it was hard for me to understand it because I felt like if God really cared for me, He wouldn't have let it happen.
Yeah.
And it's even hard for me to admit that now, but because I had that emotion and I felt like, well, maybe I shouldn't ask God why. It took me years to get to the point where I could finally just say, God, why? So instead of asking Him why, I held it in and I stopped praying. I stopped reading the Bible.
Wow.
My relationships with my family got horribly just worse and worse and worse each year. So finally I had to say to myself, and it was nothing but God, because I won't have nothing to do with Him. And it just seemed like my whole life fell apart after my mom passed away. And I said, well, God, if you really wanted me to learn something from this, wouldn't you have given me some kind of some footing for my feet, some ground to stand on? I just felt like everything around me was collapsing. And it wasn't until, I would say, my stepmother, at the time, she wasn't my stepmother, but that was a whole nother issue going on. But she came to me, and when I say she exemplified Christianity,
Wow.
and I mean, to the point where I was so ashamed of how I had been acting and how I had just let myself go, that to this day I still honor her because of what she did. And when she came to me and she talked to me, at first it was hard to hear, because you don't want to hear stuff when you're going through. You don't want to hear just ask God about it or just talk to God about it, or he understands or he knows. It's like, yeah, but I'm going through something right now.
Right.
And you're looking for outlets. You're looking for something to justify what you're going through. And the only person that can help you is the person that you end up turning from.
Yeah.
So that's why I truly believe that regardless of how you feel or regardless of what you're going through, the only person that can help you through that situation is God. And if you don't trust him enough to ask him, how is he going to help you?
Okay.
And to me, that's where the trust comes in. And you don't have to be like me and get to the end of your rope and feel like you're just completely helpless. Ask him whenever. Because the thing is, like we've been discussing, God is not some tyrant that just, well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and then I'll come in and swoop and clean it up. You know what I mean? He's not leaving us here to wander aimlessly through our trials and our struggles. So anytime you feel that there's a need that you have to take it to him.
Wow.
No matter what that issue is. Yes.
Kwani, what I'm hearing you say is, through the 12 years of your issue,
yeah,
the way that you got through it is two things. Number one, trusting in God. You had to put your trust in God.
You do.
And the other one was, do you remember what the other one was? Or was that the same thing?
She was saying you have to be real. You have to be real with your emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do.
Wow.
You have to be real with yourself and know that you can't do that in your own strength.
I understand.
And you have to trust him. The issue that when I finally had my aha moment, I realized that I wanted God to trust me with the blessings, and I wanted him to trust me with the good things.
Right.
But I wasn't willing to be in a position where he could trust me to get through those trials.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So, it's a mutual relationship. It's a mutual thing that goes between you and him. You have to understand that there's a war for your mind. And if you don't choose to find a way to work that relationship out with you and God, it kind of, it's like somebody was saying in the chat room, if we can't find a way to work this out, what's the point?
That's true. That's true. That's true.
What's the point? What's the point of being a Christian? What's the point of going to church or any of the list of things that people tell you have to do?
Right.
What's the point of all of that if you don't have a relationship? And that trust thing goes both ways. You want God to trust you with blessings, then you have to allow him to trust you with the trials.
Wow.
And he doesn't mind that you ask. He doesn't mind because he loves you that much. Yes, he's a sovereign God. Yes, he's a holy God. Yes, you respect him. Yes, you revere him. But just like the relationship that he has for us here on earth, for us to understand that it's a type of relationship that he wants us to have with him. So I can't imagine that I couldn't go to my husband and tell him I have a problem with something that he's doing.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because that is a type of relationship that reflects the heavenly, the God relationship.
Absolutely.
So I can't imagine not being able to go to God and saying, God, look, I know you're sovereign, but I need some understanding.
Right.
And if your answer is not right now, okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think
so that's my 2 cents, y'all.
I got you. I think what brings us to a moment of anger with God or with anyone else is anytime you're in a relationship with someone, you have expectations.
Right.
And when you don't, and when those expectations are not met, i.e., anointing my mom, and this is what happened, that was not what I expected.
Yeah. Right.
A husband, you know, we talked about what time you come in, or if not, just give me a call. I just want you to be,
right. That's the expectation.
That's the expectation.
Yeah.
The expectation when I, you know, when I get home, I want my food on the table. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I was just kidding. Strike that. I was kidding. Yeah.
He was giving hypothetical situation.
Right.
When people come to church,
and just because you love someone or you're in a relationship and you trust them, you may not always like what they do.
Right.
You may not always like what they do, but that's part of the relationship.
Right.
The relationship is, okay, you check me when I'm wrong. However, because I acknowledge, you know, our relationship, I still have the freedom to come to you. And, you know, the whole system is set up, you know, through biblical history because God wants us to come to Him directly.
Yes. Right.
I got you.
So there's no middleman. There's nobody you have to go through to say, okay, God, I need you. Or I just need you to help me get through this. I can't get through this on my own. And He doesn't mind that he doesn't mind that we may not like His methods. However, He wants us to trust Him and accept that what He's doing is for our best interest.
Right.
He wants us to get there. He wants us to get there. And the way we get there is through that necessary dialogue with Him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes you can't do it on your own.
Right.
Sometimes an angel appears to you. Somebody comes out of the woodwork. I did not want my stepmother to come to me at the time. I didn't ask for her to be there. Right. However, God knew that someone needed to intervene.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Kwani, you know what, girl? Let me tell you something. This is why we friends, okay? I appreciate you, girl. I thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so very much, Kwani.
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty. I think
all right, family.
Have a good night.
Night.
Bye. I think we have someone else on the phone. Area code 407? 407, you are now live with BBC Unplugged. I will ask that if you turn down your computer, please, because I'm hearing a little bit of feedback.
We can hear it.
Yeah, if you just turn it down a little bit, please. But 407 area code, you are live with Unplugged. Good evening.
Okay.
She said okay. Like, okay, I'm turning it down right now.
Yes.
Yes, hi. Hi. Good evening, 407.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I would like to find out what do I do. I have somebody in my life where 5 years ago it was pure lies. She lied on me. So when she lied on me, I brought truth to her. And every time I tell truth, she brings back lie. So I figured everything is done. We're cool now. Now 5 years later, I'm still going through the same thing, and it's even worse. But now it's her mother. And her mother, every time, her mother just, right now, basically all the young people and everybody, no one really talks to me no more because of the lies the mother has told. Now it's still 2:14, and I'm still going through this. This woman keep lying on me over and over and over again, and I don't know what to do. And I don't know, I prayed about it, asked God what to do. I try to talk, and I want to go to the young lady about it, but the young lady is going to believe her mother over me. So where do I go from here? Do I just leave it alone? Do I go back? I tried to approach her. I approached her already about it and told the young lady the truth. And when she went back to her mother about it, her mother lied to her, so her mother told her another lie. So now we're not talking again. Every time we try to mend our friendship, every time we try to mend our friendship, the mother goes back and tell her more lies to make sure I want to know. I don't know what to do anymore because it's like I don't have to do. I don't have to do nothing at all. All I have to do is she just have to see me. And if I'm smiling, I'm happy. She had to find a way to ruin that by going and spreading more lies and more lies and more lies. It's like now it's like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go? I can't go to the source because she's going to say to me, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So and it's like, okay.
Well, let me say this. First of all, your question is, what do you do about that? That's number one. Number two, we're recognizing, we're understanding that you're angry about that. So your emotions, first of all, is letting us know that you're angry about something that has happened, something that's not laid to rest. You're also angry with someone else, Yeah, and is this person in a church situation, or are they from your church?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she's from my church.
Okay, good. So in light of this, what should you do? First of all, what we said before was that if you are in a relationship with someone, that you should let that person know where you stand or what that issue is. Then what I also heard you say is that if you go to this person, they are going to believe what the other person said. Well,
yes.
One of the things you've got to realize is that in anger, you have to deal with the anger. You have to deal with that person. And if you're angry with this person, almost sounded like 2 shows ago, but if you're angry with this person, you're going to have to, first of all, pray about it. You're going to have to simply pull this person aside who you think is also angry with you and have the discussion where you can, where you're not angry anymore. You have to reach a place where you're not angry anymore. You may even have to pray for this person and pray for yourself, because it seems like it's something that is going, how we say, round and round. It's a cycle. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a cycle that's going to leave you on the bitter end.
Right.
And if this cycle leaves you on the bitter end, you're going to always be angry till your anger becomes sin. Once your anger turns to hating this person or having a relationship where there's hate involved, then we're no longer talking about anger and questioning. We're now talking about anger and hating that person. And God is not in that business of when you're angry to the point where you hate that person. So your question is, what do you do? And what we believe, what we hear should be done is, whether you believe this person is going to be angry with you or not believe you, you still have to be at a place where you discuss it. You have that dialogue. You talk to that person. And
I went to that person already.
Okay.
And we talked.
Okay. And how does that person, how is the relationship between you and that person you talked to?
Well, after we talked, she'll go back and she'll say things to tell her mom what I said, and her mom would tell her another lie, and the person believed her mother over me. And so, of course, I said, so it's like, okay, here I am now. So now, instead of coming to me and say that, coming to me and talk to me and find out if it's true, she'll just basically just kind of shun me.
Okay, let me ask you another question then. We talked about expectations earlier. So even in a relationship like this, when you speak to your friend, what is your expectation, or what are your expectations? Such as, go ahead.
Okay. I'm saying both of us, that's why she's the one that came back to me. And both of us, we want to be friends and everything, but if she's hearing that I'm doing all these wickedness behind her back, you wouldn't want to be a friend with a person, someone's doing that wickedness behind your back, and why would your mother lie to you?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm suggesting I'm suggesting to you, caller, I'm suggesting that when you have a dialogue with this person, maybe the person you need to be talking to is the person's mother. I don't know.
She's a tyrant.
Well,
can I? Okay, so I know Pastor Graham is giving his advice from the pulpit. That's great. That's what. No, I'm not. I think that's wonderful. I think that you do have to do your due diligence to make sure that this is appropriately handled. But what I would suggest is, once you have done your due diligence with speaking to whomever you need to speak with, you need to come to a point in your mind where you no longer need to speak to them and leave it alone. The reason why I say that is because you are in a cycle with these individuals who are not interested, it appears, in the truth. Okay. And so if they're not interested in the truth and you want to get to the bottom of it, you need to now remove yourself from that and decide, okay, I'm going to do this by myself. I will be okay when I see them. I'm not going to be angry. I can say happy Sabbath. I can say, what do you need? And keep it moving. I think that going back and forth to them in the middle of this cycle is making you a slave to the situation. Okay. And they have control over you and your emotions. I like that. And that dictates your day. That dictates your day. I don't know about you, but I know me. I don't like giving up control. Yeah. So at some point, you need to determine in your mind, when I have done X, Y, Z, if nothing has changed, then I no longer go back.
Wow.
Period.
Strong word.
I no longer go back.
So, caller, I'm really hoping that you will be able to do this and take some of this advice. And we'd like to know? We'd like for you to just try this, take some time out, as LaLa said, and not have that dialogue anymore. Wait on God. Put that trust in God to handle that situation. But we want to know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask LaLa if you just give her our email address so
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Yeah, if you could email us, bbcunplugged@gmail.com, bbcunplugged@gmail.com, or if you are on Facebook, you can like us on Facebook at BBC Unplugged, and you can send us a message there.
Right.
Okay, so like us on Facebook, BBC Unplugged, or just email us at bbcunplugged@gmail.com.
We definitely want to know what that situation is going to be like, or how waiting, because what LaLa is not only saying just to cut that person off, what LaLa is saying, this is how you wait on them and the Lord. Okay?
Right.
We want to move on. We want to move on to our next caller.
Thanks so much for calling.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next caller is calling from area code 347. You are currently live with BBC Unplugged. Good evening, 347.
Good evening. This is Michelle. How are you?
Hey, good evening, Michelle.
Good evening, Michelle.
Hi. I just had a quick statement, I guess, and a question. For me, I've had a lot of things happen to me in my life, and I think at some point in time, I've never technically questioned God, only because if you dig for the source of why things happen, we may not be so quick to be angry with God. And I mean, if I don't take care of my body, I don't eat right, and then I get sick, can I really be that angry with God?
Right.
You know, it says that God is the giver of all perfect gifts, and the devil is to kill, steal, and destroy.
Right.
So when things happen to me, I kind of try to find the original source. You know, we've been taught when there's tornadoes and bad things, they call it an act of God.
Okay.
So we have been kind of pre-programmed that when things go wrong, it's automatically God that did it. And I think that there's times, and there's a difference between blaming God for things and asking God why.
Okay.
Right.
And I think sometimes we like to place the blame on God as if Satan and the devil doesn't even exist. And I think that when we realize that, again, Satan is to steal. I mean, steal anything, your life, your home, your car, your joy, you know, kill, you know, your dreams, ambitions, relationships. That's his job. And when we can properly place the blame on who really technically needs it, we would be less angry at God. We may ask, why did it happen? But we won't specifically be angry. And I just wanted to ask you, is there truly a difference between blaming God and questioning God?
Yes.
You know, I want to first of all give an example of questioning God. I'll give one example. Let's look at Jesus on the cross. One of the final things that Jesus said was, my God, why have thou forsaken me? That is Jesus questioning the Father. You know, that look what I've done all this time. This thing is painful.
Right.
Okay. Yet he knows that in his relationship, he's not blaming God, but he's questioning God.
Right.
You see, you know. But then we have a situation where we're blaming God, and one of the issues that we talked about earlier again was we blame individuals when we have an expectation.
Right.
When we do have an expectation, and we respond. We respond to Christ. We respond to a loved one. We respond to our children. We respond to our children. Lord have mercy. I expect my boy to behave in school, but we respond because the expectation was not there. So how do we respond? Do we respond with blame, or do we respond with questioning, knowing that there's going to be an outcome to our question? So I don't know, LaLa, if you want to add on to that, but I do believe that there is a distinction between blame and questioning.
Yeah, they're almost two separate things. One is asking the why, and the other one is saying you did this. Right? One is asking for information, and one is telling. You know,
that's true.
Yeah, and I think that they come from two different places. You know, one is trying to find out more, and one has already decided.
Wow. So, and then when you Michelle, when you're blaming, right? You have two ways of blaming. One way is direct, right? And one is indirect. And one is indirect. One is direct and one is indirect. A lot of times we direct the blame at God, but then we forget that we indirectly through our decision brought us to that place.
Right.
You know, you make that comment before that. Well, if I eat wrong, or if I eat this way, or then things go wrong, who do I blame? Do I blame God and say this, that, or the other? So we've got to differentiate where we are sending that blame to. We got to differentiate who we are blaming and why we are blaming and why we're putting that kind of kind of blame on God.
Right.
Okay.
Right, yes. And I also just really quickly want to say, too, is I think as well as parents, that we need to let our children see us question God. Because I do think that when children are younger and things, we try to put on this good faith, this happy Christian, you don't question God, and then we end up having dysfunctional adults.
Right.
Wow.
And if we don't teach them as children how to approach God in anger, even young when things go wrong, as adults, we don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
We don't. A lot of the child has said something, you come up old school, shut your mouth, boy, don't you question God.
Right.
And that's how you've been brought up.
Yeah.
So as you grow up, you don't know how to deal with it.
Let me ask this question off topic, just off topic. Are you from Brooklyn?
Mm-hmm.
Are you from Brooklyn?
I am.
Are you worshiping out of Queens?
Say that again?
Do you worship out of Queens, New York?
I do.
Good. Okay, I know who this is. Yes. Good. You can't get
You're very good.
You can't get rid of that accent, sister. You can't get rid of that accent. Just before we go to our next caller, in a sense, how's your brother doing?
He's doing well. He's doing good. He's doing well. He's still in Atlanta.
That's good. Good.
So he's doing well. But yeah, I really, it was a wonderful conversation. I always try to hear you guys at 5:30 catches me off guard, but I said tonight I'm definitely going to tune in. It was a great chat.
Yes.
I'm talking to my husband about it. It's helping me to actually get my children acclimated to doing this because I don't do it. So it's excellent.
I got you. Hey, we're so glad that we're able to do this. But I'm going to ask this much, that what you have just said has helped me to realize: have I questioned God in front of my children? Have I questioned God in front of my children? Lanny, LaLa, we always talk. We always talk about how do we bring up our children in a world of doubt, in a world of blame, in a world of anger, in a world of why was there a tornado? How did that hit the church?
Right.
And we talk about a good God.
Right.
And I think we ought to have our children have a
healthy perspective.
There we go.
On questioning God.
There we go.
Because that then leads them into having a healthy relationship with God, when they not only learn how to question God in a healthy way, but how you come out of what comes as a result of your questioning. And where are you now? And where are you now as a result of that process? I think that I think that should be a lesson taught to kids.
Absolutely. When the shootings happened in Newtown, I don't know how many of us really sat with our children. And, because everybody asks, how could God let something like that happen? How could God do that? How could God? But I don't know if we ever sat down with our children and explained certain processes. And as Paul said, that we really do need to, watch the news sometimes, like you said, and explain this and explain that. And that way, they won't grow up being adults who are angry with God and don't know what to do about it.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I actually, in some of the reading that I was doing with this, I was reading a lot of comments from atheists who became atheists as a result of things that have happened in their life, them not being comfortable where things ended up, and because of that fell out of a belief of God. They just didn't believe he was there. They didn't believe that.
Right. Or if there was a God, why didn't he show up?
Exactly. Why didn't he show up?
Okay.
And so when we, so I would even venture further to say, when we teach healthy questions of our Heavenly Father, we also teach relationship and a longevity in relationship, a quality relationship with our Heavenly Father, so that we know that it is okay to question, so that we can get a deeper understanding.
Yes.
You know?
I'm sorry.
He over here jumping in.
I'm jumping over here.
He's jumping in his chair.
But the other host must realize that I'm the pastor, and she's in the pew. I'm the pastor.
And you know, and just the sidekick Paul is wonderful, because guess what? Pastors are held at a high esteem, and I think it's even harder when you hear a pastor, say, I question God as well. I mean, it's a testimony, because now it shows that pastors are human too.
True.
And sometimes we put them on that pedestal where, you're supposed to say this, do that, live this way, walk this way, talk this way. You're human, and it's wonderful to hear that even you question God.
Sure, absolutely. And sin not.
Right.
And
sin not.
That's key.
Okay.
That's key.
And sin not.
Absolutely.
And sin not.
Yes.
Hey.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for your call.
Thank you so much, guys. I'll be talking to you later, Paul.
Hey, you know what? I think I'm going to get in touch with you a little bit later about our week of spiritual emphasis in November. Maybe we'll do a show live from Mount Sinai Church on a Thursday night.
Ooh, that sounds excellent.
Great.
Absolutely.
Let's look forward to that.
Absolutely. We're open to it. We're so excited. I have the word out already. It's going to be something big. But we'll talk sidebar.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for calling.
And you guys have a good night. God bless the ministry.
You too. Thank you.
Good
night. We have we're going to move on. We have a commercial. We got so engrossed in our conversation that we almost forgot our commercial. But we have a brief commercial. If Pastor Graham will set that up, coming from, yes, we just play the commercial.
We have on June 1st.
I'm sorry, no. Yeah, June 1st, there's going to be a women's tea here in Maryland.
Right.
So
and we're inviting each person to come out to that. That is from Awesome Ministries.
Yes, Awesome Ministries.
Awesome Ministries will be doing that, and we have individuals that watch from Awesome Ministries, and we will also support independent ministries that's thinking about God, thinking about community. Yes. And so we want to just highlight. You've never been at a loss for words.
I'm sorry. We just completely switched gears. But yes, this is our ministry highlight for this show, and so coming from Awesome Ministries.
So before we land the plane on this show on BBC Unplugged, we want to share another ministries with you.
Oh, yes.
We also have something special coming up this weekend on the 31st of May. We have the young adults coming from not only our churches but other churches in the area. We invite every individual to come down and enjoy. It's a mix and mingle. It starts at 2 o'clock to 4:30 at Restoration Praise Center. You will find it on our page. We'll put it on our page on BBC Unplugged.
On Facebook?
On Facebook. Young adults from 18 to 35. I guess I've passed that. I'm not going to say anything about our co-host, whether she passed
I am nestled in between 18 and 35.
She wishes. And so there'll be free child care. There'll be free food and fellowship and music. We are inviting you to the melting pot at Restoration Praise Center, where we are going to be dealing with mixing and mingling. So wherever you are, come out and enjoy. Come out and enjoy. And so again, we talked about the subject of
being angry with God.
Being angry with God and not sinning. In the last moments that we have left, are there any words that you have that you'd like to share with our viewers at this time as we come down to a close on such a subject as this?
You know, I think in my reading of this topic, because I too, growing up in a West Indian culture, it was very much, don't question God, don't question your parents, just do as you are told and keep it moving. Essentially, that was what's up. And I think that now in my adulthood, in attempting to have a closer relationship with God, what does that look like? The whole premise for Unplugged is, what does that look like? We talk about things in theory, but in practicality, in reality, what does it look like? And so what I learned when studying this was that it is okay to question God. Right. There are several areas in the Bible where God was questioned and he did not reprimand the person who did that. Right. And I think that is an example. And it shows us that when we question, that shows that, I question you because I have an expectation. And I have an expectation because I have a relationship with you. Because of the relationship. And so because I am vested in this relationship, because I know me personally, if I'm not interested in a relationship going anywhere, I'm not going to question you. Right. I'm just going to keep it moving. I'm never going to turn around and question. But if I want something to grow and I feel like something is worthy of holding on to, then I will question for further understanding. Okay. And further understanding leads to a deeper relationship. Wow. And so I learned
further understanding leads to a deeper relationship.
Yes. I learned in my studying for this particular show that it is okay to question God. And I learned in the show that I need to teach that to my children so that they too can understand that when God says he wants a relationship with you, that is the good, bad, and ugly.
Yes, it's everything.
And he wants you to come with it. Period. Don't approach him. Oh God, I can't let you know how I'm really feeling, because you know what, he already knows. That's right. He just wants you to say it. That's right. He wants you to say it, and so in saying it, you now open the door for that back and forth. Okay, I got you. He's saying, I got you in my arms. Now tell me what's really going on. Tell me how you're frustrated. Tell me what's hurting you, and then let me be the one to heal that. Gotcha. Let me be the one to hold you through that. So that's what I learned on this whole thing, and to teach my children.
And you want to know something, LaLa? I've learned also, it is okay to be angry and not sin. It's okay to deal with it because we have a relationship. And because we have that relationship, God is expecting for each and every one of us. He's expecting for each and every one of us to deal with him the way we ought to deal with him. Though he's a sovereign God, he looks low enough and hears our voice. Yes. That we are not on equal footing, but he loves us that much that he wants to hear our hearts. He wants to hear what our complaints are. He wants to hear our questionings. He wants to hear us doubting. But he doesn't want us to sin, knowing that he can't get us out of whatever the situation may be. Right. And so today, we want to thank you for joining us on BBC Unplugged. And for more information, on the shows that we have later on, we are inviting you to our next show.
Yeah, our next show is supposed to be next week.
It's supposed to be next week, but someone is going to be out of town.
The next day I'll be out of town.
The next day, this person is going to be out of town. Well, you know what? Here's what's the most important thing. Go to our Facebook. Tell us about that.
Like us on Facebook, BBC Unplugged, and you will find out information about our next show. Yeah. Our next show, we're going to be talking about Christianity and wealth. Okay. Is it okay to serve God and strive after wealth?
Boy, that's going to be fun.
That's going to be a fun show because we even have, it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a fun show. Because there's a few things that's going to come out in that show based on what the notes have already. So that's our next show. But whether or not it's next week, because like Pastor Graham said, I'll be out of town, or the week after, just like us on Facebook.
And you'll find,
BBC Unplugged, and you'll know what's going on. We will be sure to let you know. But one thing you will know, it will be at 7:30 p.m. And it'll just be next week or the week after. So that's the next show.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for our next show. This is LaLa, co-host BBC Unplugged. Thank you all so much for joining us. It was a good discussion in the chat room. Thank you for those of you who called in with sharing your good, bad, and ugly. And we really appreciate that.
And we also want you to look out for the rebroadcast of this and share it with others. Let them know that some things need to be heard. And what is going on in the pulpit and in the pew, we've got some discussions and answers for
Yeah.
you. And again, we want to thank Praise Vision for being our sponsor. We want to thank them where technology meets worship and praise. Just at the end of this, we always leave a commercial for you, and this commercial of how we began. And so if you just watch that with us, enjoy it, share it with someone else, and know this much, that we are in the business of of having the discussions that means the most. Be blessed today. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Next time.
All right, now.
BBC Unplugged, later in the evening. BBC Unplugged, you need the word in your life. Yeah, BBC Unplugged. BBC Unplugged. BBC Unplugged, later in the evening. BBC Unplugged.
BBC Unplugged started with a Facebook post that I had on my page where I asked a question on forgiveness. And I think